Hey everybody, this is Heather Layne, and this is my daughter Makayden and my new granddaughter Analeise, and she's joining us on the video today, aren't you? And she's such a sweet girl. Makayden and I have been talking the last couple of days, and we feel like God is really wanting us to share Makayden's adoption story, and it's a story about God promising something that looks impossible. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are believing for a promise that God has given you. And so the whole point of us being here today is here's the promise that looked impossible at one point in my life that I almost gave up on. And we don't want you guys to give up. We want you to stay in faith. We want you to believe what God has told you. So hopefully I'm not going to cough. I've been a little bit scratchy lately, my throat, because of my allergies, but I'm going to tell her adoption story and hopefully build your faith. And so I was a young mom. I had my two boys, Luke and Andrew, who were young. My youngest, Andrew, was 3 years old, and Luke was probably 7 years old. And I remember just feeling like I was going to have another baby. God kept telling me as I would pray, I just kept feeling in my heart, you're going to have a daughter. I'm bringing you a daughter. And I remember feeling mixed emotions because I really honestly did not want to be pregnant again. The whole childbirth process and pregnancy is such an ordeal. But one night he got me up, and this was in, you were born in 2001. So this was in probably August or September of 2001. I got up in the middle of the night and I turned right to the story of King Solomon and the two prostitutes, which is 1 Kings 3:16 through 28. If you want to read that in your own time, it's an awesome story. So I'm reading this story, and there's these two moms, and they're living together, and they're prostitutes, and one has a baby boy, and then the next, after 3 days went by, I think it says, the other one had a baby, but one of the moms rolled over on her baby in the middle of the night and smothered him, and he was dead. So she was so distraught that she switched the babies. And so when the other mom woke up in the morning, in the light of day, it says she realized that was not her baby, and that the other girl had switched the babies and was trying to say that the baby that was alive was hers, but that wasn't true. So they went before King Solomon, and being a man of great wisdom, like the Bible talks about, he knew how to figure out who was the real mom. And he said, okay, then we'll cut the baby in half, and you can have a half and you can have a half. Well, the real mom said, no, let her have the baby, because she loved the baby. She didn't want to see her baby hurt. The mom that wasn't the real mom said, great, yeah, cut the baby in half. We'll each have a half. She was kind of probably sarcastic about it. And King Solomon said, okay, I know who the real mom is. And he awarded the real mom, who wanted what was best for the baby, he awarded her custody, I guess you could say, and he decided for her. So when I read that story in the middle of the night, I really felt God was saying to me, I'm bringing you before a judge. You're going to adopt. And it's something, honestly, I had never thought of, and I felt like God was redeeming some things in my life. I'd always wanted a daughter. I had two boys, which I love my boys, but really wanted a daughter. And so I started to get excited about it, and I started to believe it. And every time I would meet and have devotions with God, he would give me other scriptures. I set the lonely in families, and I started to just have this experience. And it's kind of like God put this promise on me, like a cloak that I could not take off. It was like a coat or a cloak. It was like I was pregnant, that child felt like she was with me. And I had a dream about you not too long after that, and I dreamt that you were half Hispanic and half Caucasian, And then I also dreamt that she was a little bit tore up, like kind of not taken care of, like neglected. And I woke up and I remember thinking, gosh, I think she was about 6 months old in that dream, because she wasn't quite sitting up by herself, but she was really like Analeise, right? Huh? You're almost 6 months old.
So at the end of this month.
Next week. Just about the same age as your mom. So, anyway, I started to the process of becoming a foster-adopt parent, and my husband at the time, we both had to go through classes to become licensed foster-adopt parents. That's what I felt like we were supposed to do, was to go through Child Protective Services and kind of walk that path. So when we signed up, they said, oh, it's going to be 3 years, because our list from 0 to 2 years old for a baby girl is like 3 years long, a waiting list. But as I kept meeting with God and listening to God, what he was, putting on my heart, I felt like, hurry up, like get ready, she's coming. And so all of a sudden, all these things started shifting into place. We had to have a bigger house. That happened just immediately. It was just a miracle in itself how that happened. And then people started giving me girl stuff. They would say, well, I have some baby stuff I'm not using, but it's for a girl. And I say, well, I think that's what's happening, because that's what God's telling me. But at the time, I felt like I was crazy. People would come to the house and they would say, wow, you have this baby nursery decorated for a little girl. Like, how are you so sure that you're getting a girl? And I would say, I don't have anything to go by other than this dream that I feel like God gave me and what God is showing me and telling me. So I really want to encourage anybody out there, hold tight. Don't let people sway you from what God has told you is going to happen, okay? Because he's building our faith in the process. It is not easy. There were days I remember crying. I remember just a process that I went through of just longing for this little baby to come to me, to come to my arms. And did you drop your toy?
Uh-oh.
And I kept thinking, I've either made this up, or this is either going to happen or it's not. So 3 months goes by from the time I first read about the 2 prostitutes. That was the day I really felt like God gave me the promise. 3 months goes by and I get a phone call. And it's the social services department. They said, hey, we have a little girl. Can you come pick her up? And it was all of a sudden, there was no time to prepare. I had to leave in that moment to go get her. So I want to reiterate that with anybody watching this, that if God is telling you to get ready and prepare, it's because it's coming. And when it comes, you don't want to be struggling to try to catch up to whatever God's been telling you to do to prepare all this time. Mm-hmm. So I was really thankful that I had listened to God and not to my doubts or even to what other people were saying, but I had prepared. I had all the diapers, I had the nursery in order, I had her clothes, everything was ready to go. All the equipment, the car seat, everything I needed. And even though I looked crazy, the day came. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. She was about the size of Analeise. And it was her exact 6-month birthday, which I thought was incredible. That God sort of gave her like a second birth into our family. Yeah. And it's just such an occasion every year. I always wish you happy birthday on January 23rd, 2002 was, now here we are almost 20 years and a half later. Yeah. And she's sitting here, you guys. So I just want to say that again, that God told me there was no evidence, but I had to believe it or not. And I believed it and I got ready. And he showed me that promise. Now, there was a second half to that where he built more of my faith. And this is where the song comes in. Yes. It's called Strong One, okay? And I'm going to link it to this video in the description. Please check it out. I made a lyric video just for this video so you could listen to this song. But, you know, she was with me for a few months and she had a lot of issues going on. You had been severely neglected, and God allowed me to nurse her back to health. And at the same time, it created a healthy bond between she and I. I could rock her to sleep at night and sing songs over you. And God had called her a daughter of song. And I remember, this is for later, but I remember before she came, I had this vision. And a vision is when you've got your eyes open and you see something. But I was singing on a big stage, and I looked off stage and she was standing there watching me, smiling. And she was about 8 or 9 years old. So just remember that, okay? So anyway, she comes to our family, but she's just a foster child at that point. But I'm still believing that, yeah, I'm going to adopt this child because God told me she's my daughter. And so they have to do this search of anybody in the birth family that may want her. Well, long story short, I'm not going to go into great detail on this, but they found a very distant relative who did want to adopt her. So I ended up having to go to court, 9 court appointments. Never got to say anything. I didn't have an attorney other than social services. And at one point, they did award her distant relative custody of Makayden. And you talk about faith being tested. I mean, I was like, God, you told me this was my daughter. You told me. And he kept telling me, Heather, remember the story of the 2 prostitutes. Just pray my will over her. Pray whatever is best for the baby. And that was so hard because I wanted her. But God was teaching me to want what was best for her over what I wanted. So every day I'd have to release her, but pray for the strength to love her with the Jesus kind of love that was not selfish, but it was giving because it was what was best for her. And if it was best for her to be with her family, then that's what God wanted me to pray. Well, all these months had gone by, all these court appointments, and of course we were praying because we really wanted her. And the decision was that she was going to go live with her family. And it was a Friday. And on Monday, I had to drop her off permanently. And I would never see her again. The boys were very young. My boys, they were upset. I was trying to prepare them because we felt like she was being ripped from our lives. And at that point, she was already almost a year old, and we were so attached to her, and she was so attached to us. Heartbreaking. God just kept reminding me, Heather, she needs a mom today. She needs a mom today. You need to love her completely, but be willing to let her go because God gives and he takes away. It's up to God how this whole thing was going to end up. So on Friday, when we thought we were dropping her off on Monday, a higher judge overturned the decision of the lower court judge. The social worker called me and said, don't drop her off. We're going back to court. And we're like, oh my goodness. Like my heart just felt like it was on this roller coaster, you guys. And so I wrote that song, Strong One. So please check it out. It's a very transparent, I feel weak right now, God. I feel like giving up, but you're the strong one. Help me to hang on. Help me to love her with the love that she deserves, to have every day a mom that's taking care of her and loving her, even if you decide for the family, Lord. So all these court appointments came and went, and in the end, a psychologist testified that he felt that in her best interest, it was better to leave her with our family because she was so attached. And the judge I remember the gavel hitting, the gavel came down and he said, congratulations, she's free for you to adopt. And he ruled in my favor. And I knew It was God, because there was nothing I could do. I was powerless. The only thing I could do was continue to believe for whatever was best for the baby, and really to believe the original promise. So I just wanted to encourage anybody with that, stand on what God is showing you, because look what God has done. She has been such a blessing in my life. I tell her this all the time. Growing up, we've always been honest about the adoption, and what I would tell her when she was little was, God brought you to me when you were 6 months old. And as she got older, we talked more about the circumstances and all of that, and she ended up touring with me. So I know many of you know her. She's literally sang on dozens and dozens of stages around the United States. She plays guitar. She has a beautiful voice. She's a beautiful girl, inside and out. She is a daughter of song. So back to the vision that I had, when she was 8 or 9 years old, I was singing on a big stage, and I looked to the side to my right, and she was standing off stage smiling at me. And I thought, there it is. I saw it. I saw what God showed me. Before I even met her, God showed me that vision of her. And that was just, I can't even, it's priceless, right? The things that God does in our life are priceless. You can't measure it. You can't compare it. And I've told her many times, I cannot imagine my life without you. My whole life would have been different. And after Makayden came, that was it. Like, God didn't tell me to go become a foster parent. He didn't tell me to adopt anybody else. And since you've had your baby, I can't imagine you not being in my life too. And that just makes it extra special. Yeah, that's right. Did you want to say anything, Makayden?
No, I mean, you pretty much covered all of it.
So we were talking recently about, I feel like there's still promises in my life that I'm believing for. I don't know about you. Mom's pretty vocal about sharing things that I'm believing for that I still haven't seen come to pass. I've had God give me promises that I'm still standing on after 22 years since I started writing music. But we were talking about that the other day, and can you just tell him what you encouraged me with the other day, just about faith and believing, about you, how I believed in you, but be general about it.
Yeah. It's more of, she has something coming up, and we've all been kind of waiting for this something to happen, and we know how all of us need reassurance a lot of the time. So she calls me about every night, and she likes talking about what's going on, and I like listening because she's my mom, and it's one of the things that I want to be involved in her life. And so I just told her, I said, you know how God told you that he can't even talk to me when I was little, but yet I was still coming to you? It's the same thing about this thing that's going to happen, is I can't reach what's going to happen, but it will happen because he's in control, and all you have to do is have faith. He can make miracles happen in the blink of an eye that we can't even see right in front of us, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and amen that you were just a helpless baby. You had no control over your life. You had no say. And here's you, and then here's me, and God brought us together. So I really feel like God is bringing a lot of family miracles right now. And, you might be waiting for a child, a natural child, or you might be waiting for an adopted child, or you might be waiting for a spouse, what I would call a kingdom marriage, God putting people together. You might be waiting for a business. You might be waiting for God to not hide you anymore, but bring you out of his quiver and launch you into the promise that he's been speaking to you about. So yeah, we were talking about how helpless Makayden was, and God was able to get her to me. And just what a crazy miracle that was. So I just want to encourage anybody on here that you're not crazy. Number one. Okay. I thought I was crazy the whole time, but she's sitting here, you guys. She's living proof. And so is this one, huh?
You want to hold it? She's been trying to go to you.
Okay. You want to come to grandma? And she's living proof, and so is Analeise, that God had a plan, and he put Makayden in our family on purpose, and he's not done yet. He's got more.
Yep, a lot more.
So anyway, be blessed, and we hope that this video encourages you, and I will put some scriptures underneath this video as well, just to help encourage you that whatever promise God has given you, it is going to happen. And don't lose faith. Hang on to the strong one, to God, and he will give you the strength to get through it. And you will see it with your own eyes one day. Okay. All right. You want to say goodbye?
No, we're good.
All right. Say bye. Can you say bye?
bye.
All right. Be blessed.